All right, we are back for another Friday financial wrap up with Mr. Michael Zuber. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for doing this. I enjoy doing this with you each week. I'm doing this one outside, so it should be fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. We always get them done. We are committed, regardless of schedule changes, travel, etc. Let's get right into it, man. Can you believe it's May 31st, 2024? The year is flying by. Man, PCE, what happened this week, and what are your thoughts as we're finishing May?
Yeah, so PCE again, why is this important? The Fed has told us that of all the inflation readings we get each month, that PCE is the most important, specifically PCE core. So this Friday morning, 5:30 a.m. Pacific, we got the readings. And again, anytime you have an inflation reading, remember we get four numbers. We get headline and core, we get month on month and year on year. So we're going to go through each of these, and really only one of them was either above or below expectations, but we'll get into it. So we'll do headline first. That's what most people see.
Yep.
Core, again, strips out food and energy. Headline, expected to be 2.7. Last was 2.7. So again, there's expectation that inflation is flat, not going up, not going down. Actuals, 2.7. So the experts got it right.
Good.
Now, for probably the more important month on month, what is going on month on month? Last was zero point 0.3, estimate was zero point 0.3, actuals zero point 0.3. So on headline, the experts went 646. Now, the all important core. Again, core year on year. Last 2.8, expectations 2.8, actuals 2.8. So again, at this point, the experts are 9 for 9. They're in the Hall of Fame. We have three more numbers to go through. We have core month on month. Last was zero point 0.3, expectations zero point 0.3. The only number that they missed was the actual month on month came in lower than expected at zero point 0.2. Now, for the audience to understand, we talk about tenths. The experts are actually out to the hundredths. So again, what the experts were probably calling for was like 2 point or 0.27, which would be rounded to 0.3, where the actual came in at like 0.24 or 0.23, hence rounded down to zero point 0.2. So the experts went, what would that be? 11 for 12. And the only one they missed was on the high side. So it came in better than expected. These numbers really are starting to show that inflation is at least not increasing, right? Q1 was all about inflation being higher than expected, being surprised. The experts are starting to get the handle on it, especially PCE, right? They go 11 for 12. But it's still also not going down. Year on year, still 2.7 headline, year on year core, still 2.8. So, not going down. Inflation is still sticky. Inflation is still a problem. I don't think the Fed could cut. Frankly, I'll say it this way: the Fed won't cut if we stay with sticky inflation. But thankfully, it's not going up, right? We do have that. So yeah, that's what happened with inflation today.
Good. So we can say that at least it's stable, right? And that's at least for the moment, it's stable and probably no Fed cut, but also potentially the whole idea of an increase also stable. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I would agree with that, right? So a rate cut at this point is certainly not happening in July or at the next meeting or June. Yeah, I guess June's the next meeting, which is June 12th, I think. Not the cut's not coming, but to your point, it does reduce the stress on a rate increase for sure.
Okay. Okay. I know at the very end we'll talk about, I've got all my show notes here. I know at the end we're going to talk about the Fed speak. We're going to talk about interest rates. So let's continue moving though. Pending home sales. What happened this week and what are your thoughts?
Man, pending home sales was a disaster. It just was an all-out disaster.
Yeah.
What we are seeing is evidence of what you and I have talked about for a year, and that, quite frankly, is rates matter. We are seeing very clearly that home buyers demand is not interested at a 7% plus interest rate. Pending home sales down. Rates matter. We're above 7%. We're also seeing that inventory is finally building. I think we've had inventory build all year, which is great. Days on market, price drops, all of this stuff. This is all good news, right? We need many, many, many more weeks and months of this, but this is all good news. I hope mortgage rates stay above 7% so inventory can build, days on market can build. And frankly, you and I and the audience at One Rental at a Time, we can find motivated sellers. Motivated sellers is where the magic happens. If they list it and they don't, for a wish pricing and it doesn't sell, they could take it off, right? If they want to sell. You and I want to buy from people who have what's called don't wanters, or they want to get rid of it, right? They need to get rid of it. So yeah, pending home sales are a disaster, down 7.7%. Expectations were for a small drip of 0.4. Last month, they were up 3.4%. Again, last month, rates were in the sixes.
Right.
So again, we're seeing rates matter. It was a 7% drop in a month is a disaster.
Yeah.
So, that's pending home sale.
Yeah. It's interesting too, just feet on the street and being an active broker and a deal guy. Price reductions. I've had more price reductions in the last 3 weeks than I've had in the last 3 years. Everything would normally just fly off the shelf. So,
I think that's important. I think that's
Yeah.
important because Beth Traverso, top 1% agent in Seattle, King County, she's basically saying the same thing. The market is definitely, the spring selling season is over.
Yep.
So if you're a real estate agent in this business and you have a listing that usually would go, it's time to have honest discussion. Do you want to sell or do you need to sell? So your point about having more price drops in the last 3 weeks than the last 3 years, people should pay attention to that.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, I know we're going to talk about rates. I've got some thoughts on rates. I was looking at some charts. We'll talk about it at the end. Case-Shiller, what is it for those that are maybe new listeners, new viewers, and what happened this week with Case-Shiller?
Yeah, so Case-Shiller is often quoted as the gold standard for home prices. It's what guys like me who geek out on historical information will use. But when you're looking at current, like active, like in the weeds, like you and I are, it really is almost irrelevant for current information. Why can I say that? Well, you and I are speaking for May 31st. Case-Shiller's data was reported for March. What did it report? Well, it reported record highs. We are now, according to Case-Shiller, the latest report, at a record high home price. We have taken out the peak of 2022. So no crash. But let's be honest. Do you think the market today, heading into June, has any resemblance of March? Of course not. It just doesn't. Rates are different. Spring selling season is over. It wouldn't shock me if Case-Shiller had some give back in the second half of the year. I am not talking crash. I'm not even talking, year-on-year decreases. But yeah, Case-Shiller in the moment, not really valuable. But, for historical averages and when we look back in history, it is the gold standard.
Very interesting. Yeah. It definitely feels like an odd time, man. We thought, okay, this year, do we get kind of normalized, but it's still just bouncing around. Consumer confidence, what happened this week and what are your thoughts on it?
Man, of all the numbers that surprised me this week, Ty, this was the number, right? Pending home sales kind of get it. PCE kind of get it. But man, consumer confidence got me this week. And what got me was it spiked. It jumped. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think it went from an expectation of like 97 to like 103. Again, the numbers mean nothing to you or I or to the audience. It's just the consumer is more confident. They're feeling better. And it's really weird, right? Because you're seeing retailers and you're seeing companies report kind of mixed earnings. You're seeing tech companies get blasted for reducing earnings expectation and growth. And you had Dell go down, you had UiPath, you had all these companies, you got, I think it was American Airlines and just so many others. It's kind of take it on the chin this week. But to see the consumer confidence jump, that number surprised me. And again, as somebody that studied economics for 30 years, I want to see next month. Because again, all this data, it can be revised as we've seen over the last year, but also any 1 month could be an outlier. I want to see if the trend continues. Are we feeling better, or was last month a blip and suddenly we're not feeling good?
Very interesting too. And I feel like about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, you talked about Starbucks, basically being kind of a real indicator of a slowing consumer. And you see in these mixed signals now. So it's like, It's very interesting to see what's going to happen next, man. So any other thoughts
Yeah.
going forward on that?
Well, I think the consumer, I forget who posted this. I think it was either Logan or maybe it was Lance at Resi Club, Logan at Housing Wire or Lance.
Yep.
But he talked about just in the last 24 hours on Twitter or X that the consumer behavior has changed in housing. And I think we saw this in pending home sales. What do I mean? Last time rates were in the seven, we were seeing buyer demand be higher than expected since we weren't really building inventory. But I think what's happened is the consumers changed their mind. They now see 7% as bad. They're hearing about insurance doubling. They're hearing about all these tax things. And I think the consumer is saying, you know what? I'm not buying with the seven. And I think as of, yesterday, we're at like 7.3 or 7.25. So, uh, you know, I think consumers have had enough. They're not going to be buying homes unless they have to at 7%. I think the consumer is changing. I really do.
Interesting. Well, we will always keep an eye on it. Let's talk about Q1 and GDP. What did you see there? What happened this week?
Yeah, so we get three readings on on historical GDP. So the first reading for Q1 GDP came out at 3.4%. So pretty above trend, good, healthy economy. But again, it was Rev 1. We just got Rev 2. We will get Rev 3 next month. Rev 2 of GDP had a significant reduction, more than cut in half, right? It went all the way down to 1.3%. So we lopped off 2.1% of Q1 GDP. So Q1 was not nearly as strong as a lot of people thought. And again, we have one more revision in front of us. And yeah, we could be staring at into negative GDP, here sometime in the near future. Could happen.
Could happen. Very interesting. So again, a lot of uncertainty in the economy. Let's talk about Fed speak. I know when we say Fed speak, it's not one person, it's a multiple of people. What is Fed speak? What happened this week?
Yeah, there are 18 Fed presidents plus a Fed chair. So there's 19 people when I generally say Fed speak. We had, I think, 11 Fed speeches last week. I think we had 9 or 10 this week. And basically, they're all giving their opinions. Basically, they're saying higher for longer. There's, some of them are hinting at no rate cuts all this year. Anybody who thinks a rate cut's coming in June is silly at this point. It's not happening. Basically, the Fed is all on the same page. We're not cutting, is what the Fed is saying.
And let's bring it home with interest rates. What are your thoughts on interest rates? If I look at a chart, I'm looking at a chart right now, and I know this is wild to think about. We were bouncing from like 8% in the fall last year to, we dropped down in the beginning of the year down in the low sixes. And like, what the hell's going? If this were an EKG, this would look like a heart attack or
Yeah,
definitely a high stress test. What the
yeah.
hell is going on with interest rates, and what can we be certain on going forward on interest rates, Michael?
Gosh, what could you be certain on? Not much. I think what we have seen and are seeing right now is, and actually shout out to Jonathan at Convoy Home Loans. He's kind of pointed out that we've been right between kind of like 6.9 and 7.5 for a long time.
Yep.
And he's like, you know what? We're going to be in that all year. And I think he's right. I think we'll be between 6.9 and 7.5 the rest of the year. I think that's a good thing. I personally hope we're between 7 and 7.5. Just so we can keep the housing market on chill. We can keep building inventory, days on market can grow, and we can find out who wants to sell versus who has to sell.
Okay. All right. And then if we have to go, even just looking at I have a show note here, 6.7. Is that tying to an interest rate or is that a different subject?
No, that is interest rate. So I think good catch. So Nick Teramos from the Wall Street Journal, he put out
Okay.
a tweet yesterday, or I guess it's been 2 days now, that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. He highlighted that mortgage rates have been over 6.7% for more than a year. So why is that important? Well, the consumers have taught me for years, decades, that in order to get the consumer off the sideline in mass, they need to get a deal.
Yep.
So we've already talked about hopefully the rest of the year being above 7 or at least 6.9 to 7.5, which means sometime in 2025 or maybe 2026 or 2027, we will once again see interest rates below 6.7. And that is the number. That's the line in the sand that I'm now calling for when marginal demand goes, I'm here. I'm going to
Interesting.
get a deal. Because again, right, if you have the average mortgage rate at 6.7, a good credit rating, decent down payment, a point, you're going to get something in a 5.
Yep. Yep.
That's the magic. So I'm putting a line in the sand. 6.7. That's when demand comes back in a huge way.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, let's continue. Let's continue rolling, man. Thank you for all the work you do, all the research. I just get to show up, ask good questions, and then ride your coattails. But let's talk about something that's so exciting. You've launched a school community. School is an online platform. It kind of takes the best of a content creator like a Kajabi and combines it with Facebook. It's super awesome. I love what you're doing there. Talk about the boot camp. What are you doing with the boot camp?
So this was inspired by you, right? Last week, you talked about giving 6 hours of content for creative financing, right? You did a master class and you're going to be using that in your package that you're creating, but you're like, Michael, I want to give you that. And you didn't have to do that. It's now free. It's loaded and available in school. I thought about it for 24 hours and said, you know what? I have something like that. I did a 10-week boot camp, which actually turned out to be 11 weeks. That was $1,000 to be a part of. And it's now, you can buy it. But because of you, because of your leadership, your inspiration, I went and got all the data and loaded it into school. So if you're part of my school community, you now have access to a $1,000 boot camp, 11 weeks. It is aimed at busy professionals. It is aimed at people who are stuck,
Yeah.
right? We talk about buy box. We talk about spreadsheets. We go for 11 weeks. And then we bring on experts, Derek, the ADU guy, Dion, the lazy landlord, Millennial Mike out of state. We bring on Jason. It's 11 weeks. It's worth $1,000. I will never do it again, but now it's free on school. And again, I added it because of your leadership. So I added it yesterday. It is now available. If you are in school, my community, you can go get it. It's free.
And just to be clear, it's only $20 a month to be a member of the community, guys. We're talking pennies. That's the same that I pay for Audible to get one Audible book every month, right? On my subscription that I'm on. So it's equivalent. If you really look at it, even I don't think you can even get 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks for $20 anymore, right?
No.
So let's look at also the next speakers. Now, I believe you've had Dion, that's recorded, that's on there. I believe you've had also Anna Kelly. Is that correct?
Yep.
Who else
Yep.
do you
Yep.
have coming on as speakers? Talk about that.
Yeah. The beauty of school, like you talked about, is it allows me to merge my millionaires and my community. So my community can interact and ask questions. Like, just for example, I think it was last Monday, I had Omar El Takari on to talk about why Gen X and baby boomers need to start being on YouTube, right? We have too many 20-year-old life coaches. So that's available. We also had Anna and Dion and Matt, and we'll have others. The next one is going to be Jonathan. Actually, the next one is Sunday. We're recording this on Friday. Sunday, Jason Pritchard, 9 a.m. One of the guys on the Mount Rushmore of real estate investors, the best
Strong.
person in my, it's just strong. So again, if you want to ask Jason Pritchard questions, you want to be a part of that, 9 a.m., be a part of school. And then on Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, we're going to talk to Jonathan Twomley, who's going to bring out his investor psychology presentation and share with the community. Again, ask questions. He's built big, huge monster portfolios and all of that. And then we have experts that are now hosting their own Zooms. For example, Matt, the mortgage guy, at 10 a.m. today is going to be hosting an hour without me. I'm not even showing up. He's going to host a Zoom
Yep.
with the audience to talk mortgage and look at quotes. And then Bo Eckstein, a big buddy of ours, he's going to be hosting a small business summit at the end of the month. That will be on school. So the school, this $20 thing it's nothing. I'm going to give you 2 opportunities a week to interact with millionaires. I'll be going live once a month at least. And we're just going to keep adding more and more value. You already got creative financing masterclass. You got $1,000 boot camp. It's just bananas. And then once I get to 100, I'm going to start keeping some content only on school.
Yep.
Right. So again, right. Like, for example, Anna Kelly and I talk, we record 3 videos. 2 of those will go to YouTube. 1 will go to school. right? Dion and Matt and I do something special. We did one with Beth Traverso. We reviewed her portfolio and we talked about what she should do to retire in 5 years and how to double or triple her cash flow. That is only available on School. I'm not going to put her portfolio on blast and put it on YouTube. That'd be insensitive and rude. But we can keep it in School, our community, our people. If you want to see how you can take a high equity, low cash flow portfolio and convert it, it's already there. It's already available.
I love it. Folks, if you have any interest, if you love the channel, if you're obviously a subscriber here at YouTube, here on Facebook, if you're watching this, it's real simple. It's School, SKOOL, and then the name of the community, one rental at a time. It's $20 a month. We're talking pennies, folks, to be connected to the greatest real estate community on the planet, what Michael is doing, what we're doing as a group, what Michael is leading from the front. So many good things going on, Michael. Thank you for all the work you do. Any last words before we get into this weekend?
No, at the end of the day, folks, again, we're heading into a rough 18 months. I've said that before. The next 18 months will be worse than the last 2 years. It'll be harder. But trust me when I say that's where the opportunity is. The next 18 months is we're one rental at a time. People are built for the next 18 months. I have confidence in you. You have confidence in you. And if you need help, you want to ask questions, you want to interact, that is what School is for. Again, join the community, get involved with my experts, ask questions. Don't be shy. It's very intimate. It's very small. It's not public. I will never go live and do a Q&A on YouTube again. The last time I did that, it was a disaster with all those fraudsters and crap. But if I will go live on School with my community. So it's fun. Let's go.
I love it, man. Have a great weekend. Thank you for all the work you do.
Take care. Bye.